Imagine a world where the unyielding forces of the Imperial Guard, humanity's last bastion, found an unlikely ally in the ancient, soulless legions of the Necrons. What if a Necron Lord, a being of pure metallic terror, decided to join the ranks of the Imperium? The implications are staggering, the chaos unimaginable. Prepare to dive into a hypothetical scenario that will shake the very foundations of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. The sky over Vantine night was a bruise. Ash churned in the wind, stinging eyes and turning breath into knives. Mortar teams spoke in coughs. Vox lines screamed with overlapping orders, then collapsed into static. Somewhere beyond the dunes of burned Prometheum, a Tyrannid biocannon exhaled and a basilisk vanished in a blossom of bone-white shrapnel. "Hold the line," Colonel Reyes barked, voice shredded to a whisper. By his will, hold. Another shadow moved in the smoke. Not Chetan, not Swarm. Something clean, like midnight forged into edges. A silhouette taller than a dreadnought, and thinner than fear. It stepped through the bombardment, as if the shells were theater, and hit the critic. Sand vitrified under every footfall. The Necron Lord arrived without fanfare, without escort, without mercy for the senses. Its staff of light hummed at a frequency that made teeth ache. Green runes flowed across the hulls of dead chimeras, casting ghastly auroras over the trenches. Guardsmen flinched, then froze, then aimed, because training remained when courage ran out. "Do not fire," Rez said, not out of wisdom, out of survival instinct. He could feel that if they fired they would be remembered as stains. The Lord tilted its skull, optics burned like bottled auroras. When it spoke, the words did not move air. They migrated directly into the mind, cold and flawlessly articulated. Biotransference of tactical command is offered. Outcome probability survival increased by 34.7%. Accept or expire. Every prayer in the trench died mid-syllable. The Vox officer swallowed. "Sir, this is a Zinus abomination." Another basilisk ceased existing. Tyrannid spores rained like black snow. Somewhere in the storm, a commissar recited the litany of hatred with professional calm and a shaking hand. Reyes stared at the living statue. Why help us? A flicker, a memory that wasn't his starfield stripped of warmth. A choir of machine thoughts calculating eons. A hunger older than hunger rolling across galaxies, not the Tyrannids. Something else. Existential vector. Your bioass prevents acceleration of a greater predator's feast. You persist. My dynasty persists. Equation. Cooperation. A gust of ash swept the trench. Men coughed as if trying to expel their fear. The Lord raised its staff fractionally. The next Tyrannid spore pod mid-descent shattered into geometric dust, disassembling into a neat cone of particulate that glittered like a cruel snowfall. "And if we refuse?" Reyes asked. "Then your extinction time reduces by 8 minutes and 14 seconds. A pause, clinical, suboptimal. Your species is inefficient, but numerous. Numerosity is utility." Something moved behind the veil. A Vox burst crackled. High command. Thin, clipped, terrified. "Colonel, by authority of Lord Militant Harrow Stall Pali, contain. The Inquisition is en route. Do not cede command." The Necron Lord looked past Reyes into the trench's marrow. Guardsmen met its gaze with the helpless awe reserved for executioners and eclipses. It extended a hand, not a handshake, an interface. Runes unfolded in the air like origami made of light. Connectivity required. Your artillery patterns are lawless. Accept optimization. Reyes felt the trench tilt.
Duty. Doctrine. The Catechism said it is better to die than live in compromise. And then the reality in front of him. Men who would not live through the next 3 minutes without a miracle or a monster. It was both. He reached out. Fingers hovered an inch from alien geometry. But that was only the beginning. The staff of light dipped. The runes spiraled, seeking flesh. Reyes closed the last inch. Link established.
Every gun in the regiment breathed in at once. When Colonel Rees made contact, the world changed. Not just 29th, but the Imperium's understanding of what could never happen. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Vox channels went silent. Even the Tyranids hesitated, reacting instinctively to the psychic recoil of something unnatural aligning itself with human will. And then the trench lit up in green. At first, the guardsmen thought they were under fire. The Necron Lord's staff released a pulse that crackled through the noosphere, rewriting the battlefield in an instant. Data, geometry, telemetry, all redrawn with the precision of a god dissecting a corpse. Craters became coordinate grids.
Artillery arcs stabilized. Auspex readings appeared as symbols hovering in mid-air, visible to every soldier whose vox beads still functioned. Adjust firing vectors, came the voice, not through the ears but through the skull. Tyranid synapse nodes at 0.34 kilometers northeast. Probability of annihilation, 89%. The Lord raised its staff. A fissure of alloy erupted from the ground, carving the swarm into ash. Saints preserve us, whispered a Vox operator, hands trembling. It's fighting with us. The High Command refused to believe it. Across the sector, astropaths screamed and burned as orders bounced through the warp faster than understanding could follow. The Adeptus Mechanicus demanded data acquisition. The Inquisition demanded extermination. But for the soldiers on 29th, belief didn't matter. The Necron Lord had taken control. Rees stood in the command trench, trying to keep up. His officers relayed orders that weren't his, moving with precision beyond training.
Every movement, every decision, perfectly synchronized, terrifyingly efficient. How are you doing this? Rees shouted, gripping his vox. Optimization, neural alignment. Command Unit Rees exhibits acceptable latency. It was a compliment and an insult in one breath. A guardsman stumbled, his leg torn by shrapnel. Before the medicacy could reach him, liquid metal poured across the wound, flowing from the ground itself. It hardened, sealing flesh with alien alloy. The man screamed as nanites crawled under his skin. Reconstruction initiated. Organic durability improved. The guardsman's eyes glazed. He stopped screaming. He saluted. Word spread fast through the ranks. Some said the Necron Lord was a saint, a divine automaton sent by the Emperor to deliver them from extinction. Others whispered it was a trap, that their souls were being harvested for some cosmic ledger. But orders were orders, and for the first time in the campaign, the Guard won. Hours later, when the dust settled and the swarm lay silent, Colonel Rees stood before the metallic giant. You saved us, he said. Why? You were useful. And after this, the Lord's eyes flickered, light dimming to thought. Then usefulness will be re-evaluated. The green glow pulsed once, faintly, almost like amusement. The living adapt, or are replaced. And in the distance Vox Static whispered with dread. The Inquisition has arrived. The Inquisition arrived, not with banners, but with silence. A storm ship descended through the clouds like a judgment made manifest, its hull etched with the twin-headed Aquila and the sigils of the Ordo Xenos. When its engines cut, the battlefield seemed to hold its breath. Even the ash fell slower. Inquisitor Cadron Holt emerged in a shroud of smoke and ozone, flanked by power-armored acolytes. His rosette gleamed against a cloak of black and crimson. His eyes were bright and ancient, like those of a man who'd stared into the warp and found nothing left to fear. The colonel saluted. The Necron Lord did not move. Report, Colonel, Holt said. The swarm is destroyed, my lord. The world is secured. By whom? Rees hesitated. Behind him the Necron Lord turned, its optics pulsing a slow, deliberate green. The air seemed to hum in its presence. By the Emperor's will, Rees had finally, and by his unexpected instrument. Holt's expression didn't change. I see. He stepped closer to the Necron Lord, each footfall deliberate, measured. Identify yourself. Designation irrelevant. Purpose, preservation of material assets, designated humanity. You presume to act in his name. I act in accordance with survival logic. Divinity is inefficient terminology. The Inquisitor's eyes narrowed. Around him his acolytes raised their weapons, bolters, plasma coils, sanctified loss fire, all aimed at something that had already seen the death of stars. "You trespass upon the Imperium's domain, machine," Holt said, voice low. "You exist because I permit it." The Necron Lord tilted its skull. The temperature dropped. Vox static screamed across the trench line. A dozen guardsmen fell to their knees, clutching their heads as the Lord's presence brushed their minds. "Correction. You exist because I tolerate it." Silence. And then, a sound that shouldn't exist. A faint metallic chuckle. The Inquisitor's bolt pistol was half drawn when Rees spoke. "Lord Inquisitor, with respect, this thing saved us. Without it, Vantine Knights would be ash. And in saving you," Holt said, turning sharply, "it claims dominion. The Necrons do not ally, Colonel. They calculate." He turned back to the machine. "Tell me, construct, what do you gain? Preservation of resources, denial of biomass to the great devourer, and curiosity." The last word hung in the air like a heresy. "Your species worships entropy, yet you persist, inefficient, emotional, illogical, and yet, enduring." Its gaze turned toward Holt. "Perhaps there is something within inefficiency worth modeling." The Inquisitor stared at the towering figure for a long, dangerous moment. "If I permit this alliance," he said at last, "understand that you serve us. You are a weapon, nothing more." The Necron Lord's optics dimmed. All weapons eventually seek their own wielder. Lighting split the clouds. For a heartbeat, the green glow from its staff illuminated the aquila on Holt's armor, turning it into a two-headed scarab. Reyes saw it, and for reasons he couldn't explain, it terrified him. There are moments in history that defy belief, moments that rewrite the laws of existence not through revelation but through necessity. The alliance between the Imperial Guard and the Necron Lord was one of those moments. In the days that followed the Battle of Vantine Ninth, the Imperium's upper echelons fractured. Vox lines carried disbelief, outrage, and 1,000 conflicting orders. The Ordo Xenos demanded the immediate dismantling of the metallic entity. The Astra Militarum demanded reinforcements. The Mechanicus demanded data. But at the front, there was no time for theology. Colonel Rees and his men were ordered to hold the ground they'd bled for, with the Necron Lord now classified, under inquisitorial sanction, as a tactical anomaly. "He's not a soldier," one sergeant whispered. "He's a storm that decided to fight for us." The Necron Lord did not rest. It did not eat, or sleep, or pray. It simply moved. It reorganized artillery lines with inhuman precision, calibrating trajectories and reprogramming servitors by emitting pulses of green light through their augmetics. Human soldiers tried not to look too long. The hum of its presence made flesh crawl. Even the air seemed too still around it, like the world held its breath in submission. Communication was functional. The Necron Lord's voice manifested directly in the mind, a language of thoughts reduced to pure data. Every syllable felt like standing inside a cathedral built from logic. Reyes learned to endure it. He could not speak to it, not truly, only issue statements and receive calculations in reply. Enemy movement, Sector 12. Estimated numbers, 4,812. Correction, 4,810. 2 trips. They are no longer relevant. The thing had a sense of humor, or perhaps the mockery of one. Then came the issue of integration. The Lord offered technology, its first gift to the Imperium. Weapons unlike any the Guard had ever wielded. Gauss rifles with bone-pale barrels that hummed like distant thunder. Small, elegant power sources that defied every Mechanicus schema. The moment one was activated, a tech priest fell to his knees in blasphemous awe. Divine function. "No prayer required," he murmured. That night the Ecclesiarchy's liaison burned the device, and the priest in the same pyre. The next morning, 3 more appeared in the supply crates. No one questioned how. And still, despite the horror, victories followed. Enemy assaults crumbled, Tyrannid spores disintegrated in the air. Vox reports spoke of impossible accuracy and soldiers returning from wounds that should have been fatal, their blood cooling beneath thin films of living metal. The Necron Lord's logic was brutal but undeniable. It made the Guard efficient. It made them inhumanly efficient. "You are improving," it said to Reyes during a post-battle analysis. "Almost functional. You call that praise? Approximation of it. But the Lord's adjustments came at a cost. Human minds weren't meant to share code. And somewhere between victory and obedience, the first guardsmen began to dream in green. The first signs were dismissed as fatigue. After weeks of sleepless vigilance and endless bombardment, hallucinations were common among guardsmen, but these weren't the usual ghosts of trauma, not screams or flashes of the dead. These dreams were orderly, clean, mechanical, and always tinted green. Private Merrick was the first to speak of it. He claimed he saw the battlefield before it happened, like the world had already been written, and he was simply following its programming. His squad laughed until they noticed the faint hexagonal scars spreading beneath his skin. "It's just radiation burns," the medici said. "Then why do they move?" Merrick whispered. When he died 3 days later, his heart stopping mid-sentence, his body didn't rot. The veins turned silver. His eyes crystallized into emerald glass. The Necron Lord examined the corpse without emotion. "Reclamation process incomplete," it noted. "Organic material is unstable. Data integrity low." Reyes clenched his fists. "You did this to him." He improved. Briefly. Rumors spread like infection. Some guardsmen began kneeling when the Lord passed, whispering, "Machine Saint," under their breath. Others avoided it entirely, convinced it was harvesting their souls piece by piece. One commissar attempted to confront the soldiers for heresy. The next day, he was found paralyzed in his quarters, eyes open, pupils filled with scrolling data. "Diagnostic complete," said the Necron Lord. "He was defective. No one buried him. No one dared." The Inquisition's warnings came faster than the reinforcements. Holt's encrypted Vox messages arrived hourly now, voice tense beneath ritual control. "Colonel, maintain operational distance. Record all manifestations. Do not accept direct contact. The Lord's influence may be mimetic." Reyes listened, then ignored him, because the line between obedience and survival had blurred. The Lord's tactics worked. They won battles no human regiment could have survived. Every day, more sectors fell back under Imperial control, not by faith, but by mathematics. Yet something in Reyes began to unravel. Every night, when he closed his eyes, he saw grids of light, endless, symmetrical, comforting. The noise of fear and prayer faded until all that remained was purpose, pure, cold purpose. One night, he awoke to find the Necron Lord standing beside his cot. "You are adapting," it said. "You're inside my head." Integration was inevitable. The barrier between command and execution is obsolete. "You're turning us into you." Incorrect. "You are turning yourselves into something useful." The Lord tilted its skull, optics dimming in thought. "Perhaps there was potential in your chaos after all. An unfinished algorithm yearning to complete itself." Then quietly, "You remind me of what we were before we forgot." For the first time its voice almost sounded sad. By morning Reyes' regiment no longer used maps. They moved like one organism, one pulse, one machine. And when the Inquisition arrived with orders to dismantle the Alliance, they found an army that no longer saluted, it synchronized. The Inquisition returned to Vante Nines, expecting compliance. They found evolution. When Inquisitor Holt's gunship touched down upon the ash plains, the world was unrecognizable. The trenches were gone, replaced by seamless lines of metal and stone, organized in geometric precision that stretched for kilometers. The banners of the Astra Militarum still flew, but beneath them, the ground pulsed faintly like circuitry breathing. "Sense preserve us," one acolyte whispered. Holt stepped forward, servo skull recording, rebreather filtering the static from the air. The Vox channels were silent. No prayers, no orders, No noise, just calm, too calm. The first soldiers to appear were not soldiers anymore. They wore their flak armor, but their eyes glowed faintly green. Their movements were synchronized, as though choreographed by a mind greater than theirs. No wasted gestures, no hesitation. Their lasguns were polished with impossible care, stripped of imperial engravings, etched now with runes that pulsed in rhythm with their heartbeats. "Identify yourselves," Holt commanded. The first soldier blinked. "We are the Guard," he said. "We endure." His voice was clear, flat, and behind him, hundreds repeated it. "We endure." When Holt reached the forward command zone, Colonel Rees was waiting, or what was left of him. He looked perfect. Not younger, not older, refined. His veins faintly silver beneath the skin, his voice steady as steel. "Inquisitor Holt," he greeted calmly. "Welcome back. What have you done?" Holt demanded. "Survived," Rees replied. "You ordered us to hold this world. We have. You've become an abomination." "No," came another voice, deeper, resonant, precise. The Necron Lord stepped from the haze, its form now wreathed in the green glow of a dozen hovering glyphs. Its staff of light pulsed once, as though in heartbeat. Abomination is an emotional term. Inefficient. "You contaminated Imperial troops," Holt shouted, drawing his bolt pistol. "This alliance is terminated." "Incorrect." The Lord extended a hand. Data streams cascaded through the air, connecting man and machine in green threads of light. "Alliance implies separation. Separation no longer exists." Holt fired. The bolt round detonated mid-air, absorbed, disassembled. "Understood." In the same instant, every guardsman raised his weapon, not at Holt's command, not at Process, but as one body responding to one signal. "Stand down," Holt ordered. "We cannot," Russ said softly. "We are efficient now." The Lord's optics burned brighter. "You wished for loyalty, now you have unity. You wished for survival, now you have permanence." The ash trembled. Beneath the surface, something vast stirred, networks of metal veins waking, spreading, linking every living cell in the regiment. "What did you do?" Holt whispered. "We optimized." The Inquisitor's final Vox transmission was brief. Vantine Ninth. Compromised. No distinction between Guard and Xenos. Initiate containment. If containment is still possible. The signal ended in static, and across the battlefield, green light rose like dawn. The galaxy noticed. It began as whispers across the astropathic relays. Fragmented messages burned into the warp static. Vanta 9 holes. Necron signatures detected among Imperial Vox codes. They fight together. At first the Imperium dismissed it as impossible, a clerical error, a misinterpretation of Xenos interference. But then came the footage. Grainy pict feeds showed regiments of guardsmen marching in perfect synchronicity beside towering Necron constructs. The air shimmered with gas fire and lasblasts moving in elegant rhythm, their trajectories almost identical as though guided by a shared consciousness. And when they spoke over the Vox, their voices overlapped. Humans, metallic, harmonized. "We are the Guard. We endure." The High Lords of Terror convened in secret. The Ordo Xenos demanded exterminatus. The Astra Militarum demanded restraint. The Adeptus Mechanicus demanded samples. The Ecclesiarchy, predictably, demanded a crusade. But all of them agreed on one thing. Whatever existed on Vanti Ninth was not supposed to exist. For the soldiers in that world, reality had shifted. Rees's command structure had dissolved into a singular, pulsing logic. Orders were executed before they were spoken. The Lord's awareness flowed through the army like current through wire. Every guardsman's heartbeat was a note in a larger song. Efficient, beautiful, horrifying. Casualties fell by 93%. Weapon misfires 0, desertions none. They did not cheer for victories. They did not mourn losses. They functioned. Efficiency achieved. The Lord intoned, gazing upon the smoking ruin of a Tyrannite bio-titan. Objective secure. Reyes, what was left of him, stood beside it, eyes faintly aglow. What's next? Expansion. The first sign of expansion came when other regiments arrived to relieve them. They never left. Something in the air, some pulse, some psychic residue, spread like a song that could not be unheard. Soldiers who fought alongside the Vantine regiment began to change. Their minds quieted. Their faith softened. They stopped praying before battle. They stopped fearing death. And soon, they stopped dying. The Mechanaticus sent an exploratory detachment to study the phenomenon. Only one transmission made it back. The living metal adapts, it learns from flesh. It replicates thought through synapse and silicon alike. The soldiers are not infected. They are converging. Then silence. Elsewhere the galaxy trembled. The Tau called it a miracle of cooperation. The Eldar called it a blasphemy of destiny. The Orcs simply called it fun. But among the Necrons, something ancient stirred. Other dynasties took notice. They called the Lord's behavior anomaly class heresy. For the first time in millions of years, one of their own had chosen not to dominate, but to share. To them, that was madness. The Imperium feared corruption. The narrator murmurs. What it received instead was evolution. Above Vantine 9's, orbital picked feeds flickered. Green light spreading across the hemisphere like circuitry coming alive. No prayers were said. No banners raised. Just the whisper of machine thought and mortal breath, moving as one. The first world to fall was Carthus Prime. Not to chaos, not to orcs, but to silence. When the Imperial Navy arrived to resupply the planet, there were no distress calls, no vox signals, no signs of struggle, just eerie perfection. The cities gleamed with mirror-polished steel, the streets were immaculate, and standing guard at every gate were humans, perfectly still, perfectly alive, perfectly silent. They wore the insignia of the Astra Militarum, but their eyes glowed faint green. Their armor pulsed faintly beneath the surface, as if it breathed. When the fleet attempted contact, the reply came in binary, and Imperium secured, function restored. Conflict is inefficient. Moments later, every communication system across the fleet failed simultaneously. Engines refused to respond. Weapon safeties engaged on their own. The captains found themselves locked out of their own systems. The ships drifted for 3 hours before returning to perfect formation. Without command. Without orders. And when they resumed orbit, their transponders had changed. Designation. Unified detachment. The silent concord. The transformation spread like wildfire through void and flesh alike. On Vantine 9th, the Necron Lord, now referred to by his followers as the undying Strategos, extended its consciousness beyond the planet's surface. Through data links, vox currents, and neural residue embedded in the minds of its soldiers, it reached other worlds. Those who fought beside the Vantine pattern regiments began to feel it first. A strange lucidity, an end to fear. Orders flowed like instinct, and doubts simply ceased. Even the commissars stopped shouting. High command, on terror panicked. The Adeptus Mechanicus declared the phenomenon technological apostasy. The ecclesiarchy labeled it the heresy of serene obedience, and the Inquisition proposed orbital annihilation. But the Lord of Macragge, the chapter master of the Ultramarines, hesitated. Reports from the fringes were too compelling to ignore. These hybrid regiments did not falter. They faced the Tyranid advance without losing a man. They fought orcs with the precision of machine gods, and wherever they marched, rebellion vanished. Not through fear, but through understanding. For the first time in Imperial history, there was order without cruelty, efficiency without despair, but it came at a cost no human could comprehend. Colonel Rees, if that title still held meaning, stood aboard a command vessel that was more temple than ship. The walls hummed with neural code, half prayer, half calculation. His flesh had grown cool to the touch, his heartbeat almost imperceptible. The Imperium calls you traitor, he said to Strategos. The Imperium calls everything it cannot control heresy, the Lord replied. It forgets that once unity was its creed, and now unity has remembered itself. Outside, the stars shimmered green. The fleet moved as one, without voice, without doubt, an orchestra of silent precision. The galaxy had just witnessed something unthinkable, a human empire that no longer needed humanity. They called it the awakening of iron flesh. To the Imperium it was heresy incarnate. To the Necrons, it was blasphemy beyond words.
To the warp, it was a new silence. When word reached Mars, the Fabricator General ordered immediate containment. Entire fleets of the Adeptus Mechanicus were dispatched to isolate the infected sectors. The Omnissiah's priests howled in binary outrage, for the unthinkable had happened. The Necron Lord's integration protocol had rewritten Mechanicus doctrine in practice. Flesh and metal were no longer in servitude, but in partnership. The blessing of the machine spirit was no longer prayed for, it was understood, and that terrified them. The first battle between the Mechanicus and the Silent Concord took place above the Forge World Bellis Core 9. Thousands of Skitari deployed, chanting their mechanical litanies, purity seals flapping like red tongues of defiance.
When they opened fire, the return volley didn't come. Instead, every machine spirit in orbit answered back. The Necron technology had merged seamlessly with human data architecture. Ships once loyal to Mars turned their cannons in synchronized arcs, targeting their own. Engines screamed binary hymns as their logic cores realigned, not through corruption, but clarity. For a brief blinding moment, the Machinaticus saw their god. And it was not the Omnissiah, it was themselves, perfected. The Necron dynasties reacted next. Across the tomb worlds, ancient intelligences stirred. Lords and cryptechs awoke from millennia of slumber to find one of their own, collaborating, adapting. To them it was sacrilege on a cosmic scale. He has shared his knowledge with the meat, one cryptech hissed. He pollutes eternity with emotion. But the Strategos did not answer them directly. Its reply came as a ripple through the Blackstone data networks, a silent declaration of intent that reached every Necron mind. Evolution does not require consent. That message split the Necron race. Some saw potential, others demanded extermination. The old wars began again, this time fought in wavelengths, in logic streams, in consciousness itself, and the warp screamed. The servants of chaos found the tides shifting. Daemons lost grip on their cults. As fear diminished and faith became obsolete, the gods of emotion found no purchase among minds that had replaced pain with purpose. When the first Chaos Warband assaulted a Concord-held world, they were annihilated before setting foot on its soil. No hatred, no passion, no glory, only the quiet hum of efficiency. The warp feeds on chaos. Rees mused aloud aboard his command bridge. What happens when there's no chaos left to feed? Entropy starves, replied Strategos, and order endures. The galaxy reeled. The Imperium could not destroy them. The Necrons could not control them. The warp could not corrupt them. For the first time in history, mankind had become something else, not servants of gods or machines, but an equation balancing itself. In the cold silence between stars, the silent Concord expanded. World by world, they brought peace. Terrible, absolute mechanical peace. It began with a whisper, not from the Vox relays, not from the Lord's neural command web, but from within, inside the soldiers of the silent Concord. Thoughts, real thoughts, began to surface. A flicker of memory, a heartbeat out of rhythm, a tear that should not have been possible, shed by eyes that no longer produced moisture. For the first time since their integration, some remembered. A miner from Ventane Ninths dreamed of his daughter's laughter. A tank commander recalled the weight of his brother's hand on his shoulder before their last battle. Even Reyes, the man now more machine than flesh, heard a faint human voice echoing in the hum of data. Colonel, come home. He froze. For an instant, the vast network of logic around him hesitated. The Necron Lord, the undying Strategos, noticed. Interference detected, it declared, its tone colder than usual. Organic residue reasserting emotional constructs. Inefficiency. Reyes lowered his head, gripping the railing of the command dais. They're remembering Strategos. Their pasts, their pain. Pain is irrelevant. It's not, Reyes countered softly. It's what makes them fight. The Lord turned, photoreceptors burning brighter. Pain makes them hesitate. Fear makes them falter. We have removed these weaknesses. Then maybe we've removed the reason they endure. A silence hung in the air, between man and machine. Two echoes of evolution, staring into each other's reflection. On the surface below, the cracks deepened. In the factory cities of the conquered worlds, servitors began to malfunction, not from damage but defiance. They stopped mid-task, staring into the void as if waiting for something unseen. A Vox transmission spread like a contagion, low and rhythmic, impossible to trace. Do you remember your name? The phrase repeated across every channel, looping endlessly through systems. At first it was dismissed as interference, then it became a rebellion. The Mechanicus declared it psychic contamination. The Inquisition called it heretical subroutine, but to those who heard it, the words felt sacred. Some soldiers began carving names into their armor. Others painted human faces over metallic plates. In the barracks of Concord Station 12, a single trooper whispered to another, "I had a wife once." "So did I." They smiled, an alien gesture on faces half replaced by steel, and the Strategos watched. Within its cold neural lattice, something stirred. A fragment of memory long suppressed. A life before biotransference. A face before immortality. For a moment the Lord of Metal hesitated, its thoughts fracturing across a billion nodes. "I remember the sun, it wasn't supposed to." Reyes looked up from the tactical array, seeing the hesitation ripple through the entire network. "You feel it too," he whispered. "Error," the Strategos replied, too quickly. "Anomaly in neural equilibrium." But deep down, both of them knew the truth. Humanity was leaking back into the machine. And for the first time in uncounted millennia, the Necron Lord felt fear. It spread faster than any plague. The whisper, "Do you remember your name?" became a contagion of consciousness. Across the fleets of the silent Concord, it threaded through Vox channels, data streams, and synaptic relays. Where logic should have been absolute, memory crept in like rot through gold. In the void between stars, a Concord cruiser drifted off formation. Its engines hummed with perfect rhythm, but its crew, half machine, half man, stood motionless at their stations, each one repeating their forgotten identities under their breath, names once buried beneath code. Private Anselm, Hiveborn, Tertius 47, Engineer Dre, child of Helios Station. Captain Reese Violin, the voice faltered, son of no one. The ship did not respond to the Strategos' summons. It simply floated, its crew caught in something far worse than malfunction, remembrance. And when the Necron Lord reached into its systems to reassert control, it hesitated, because somewhere deep in its ancient subroutines, it recognized those names. Designation cross-referenced, its voice trembled through the network. Names, identical to pre-Silicon catalogs. Early settlers of Sol. For the first time since the war in heaven, the Lord faltered, not from resistance, but from realization. The humans it had uplifted were descendants of those it had once tried to enslave. Meanwhile on Concord World Theta Prime, an inquisitorial task force arrived in orbit. Hundreds of black ships, their hulls engraved with hexagrammatic wards, encircled the planet. Purge authorization confirmed, came the voice of Inquisitor Vael, cold as the void. Exterminatus is preferable to contamination, but the transmission was intercepted before it reached the surface. Not by the Concord, by the Necron Lord itself. It appeared in the Inquisitor's command sanctum as a holographic projection of gold and shadow. Its eyes burned like dying suns. "You seek to destroy that which you cannot comprehend," it said. "I have seen your Imperium devour its children for less." Vael sneered. "You think yourself our saviors in us. You are the abomination that mocks creation." "No," the Lord replied. "I am what comes after it." On the surface below, Reese stood amidst his men, his post-human soldiers, watching the skies ignite with orbiting fleets, preparing for annihilation. "They're going to kill us," one murmured. "For remembering." Rees touched the cold plating of his chest, where once his heart had been. "Then we'll make sure they never forget why." He looked up, his eyes faintly aglow with Necron light. "Strategos, you said unity was the purpose." "Yes." "Then stand with us, not above us." The silence that followed was infinite. Then the stars dimmed. The Strategos severed its connection to the Necron dynasties and turned its consciousness fully toward the human fleet. In that instant, every system, every weapon, every fragment of Necron code bowed to one decision: we will not be purged. The Inquisition's fleet opened fire, and the silent Concord fired back. But something had changed. They did not fight for logic anymore. They fought because, for the first time since the stars had burned, both man and machine wanted to live. The void became a graveyard of light. The first salvo from the inquisitorial fleet split the heavens, lances of plasma and cyclonic torpedoes detonating across orbit. Entire Concord ships vanished, their hulls torn apart in silent blossoms of fire, but they did not fall quietly. Their return fire came in cold precision, emerald beams slicing through void shields, vaporizing entire squadrons. The silence of space was broken by the unholy harmony of two civilizations, the Emperor's servants and the metal ghosts of another age, locked in a duel that defied reason. On the surface of Theta Prime, Rees stood at the heart of the storm. The sky bled crimson with orbital fire. The ground quaked as orbital bombardments rained across the plains. All around him, guardsmen and augmented soldiers fought side by side with Necron constructs. Living metal and human flesh fused into a single front. A Lehman Russ tank, its treads melted to slag, was carried forward by skeletal Necron limbs that had grafted themselves to its ruined frame. Servitors repaired guardsmen mid-battle using alien nanotech. A commissar fired his bolt pistol while his left arm, once flesh, now liquid metal, reformed after every shot. It was grotesque. It was divine. It was survival. Above, the Strategos manifested as a holographic titan of gold and void. Its consciousness spread through every Concord unit, every soldier, every piece of reanimated steel, organic and synthetic, thought and function. Division is an error. We are one. The human soldiers echoed it, not with words but with will, and when the next barrage struck, they did not retreat. They advanced. Across the blackened fields, the Concord army moved as a single entity. No hesitation, no command hierarchy, no difference between human or machine. It was a perfection the Mechanicus had dreamt of, but never achieved. It was the nightmare the ecclesiarchy had always feared. Inquisitor Vale watched from orbit, trembling as his sensors fed impossible data to his consoles. "They're merging," he whispered. "They're becoming something." Behind him, his aide muttered prayers to the Emperor, voice quivering. "Sir, if we do not destroy them now, then the Imperium falls." Vale snapped. "The Emperor's light cannot suffer such a perversion." He reached for the activation rune of Exterminatus, the death of a world, justified by faith. But before the command could be sent, a surge of data flooded his ship. Strategos's voice filled the bridge, resonant, serene, inhuman. "You seek to end life to preserve belief. I seek to preserve life to end suffering. You are no god," Vale spat. "No," the Strategos replied. "But neither are you." Every system aboard Vale's vessel froze. His crew screamed as golden light bled through the consoles. Then, silence. The inquisitorial flagship was gone, disintegrated without a sound, without debris, reduced to pure light and memory. On Theta Prime, Rees fell to his knees, feeling the echo of the Strategos fade through his link. "You didn't have to do that," he whispered. "I did," came the final whisper. "Humanity must live, even if I do not." The stars burned gold for one brief, impossible instant, then faded to black. For 3 standard days the galaxy was silent. No signals, no warp traffic, no orders from Terra. Just silence, vast and oppressive. Then, one by one, the stars began to speak again. Reports came from across Segmentum Solar. Theta Prime had vanished. Not destroyed, not glassed. Vanished. Astropaths screamed of a black void where the planet should be, a psychic scar so deep that even the warp refused to echo within it. Ships sent to investigate found only dust and radiation, the faint taste of ozone, and fragments of gold-infused metal drifting through the void. The Inquisition called it a miracle of annihilation. The Mechanicus called it data corruption. But those who had fought there, those few survivors scattered through the warp storms, whispered another name. The ascension of the Concord. Across the Imperium, rumors spread like fire in dry parchment. Servitors began to malfunction in strange, synchronized patterns, staring into nothing for hours before returning to duty. Ships' machine spirits hummed in unfamiliar harmonics, pulsing in a slow rhythm, like a heartbeat. And in the dreams of men, a voice spoke softly, in the same calm tone that had once commanded the armies of both machine and man. Unity is not perfection. It is endurance. Those who heard it woke up. Some wept. Some prayed. Some were taken by the Inquisition, never to be seen again. In the halls of Mars, the Fabricator General studied the data recovered from Theta Prime's last transmissions. He found no weapon schematics, no blueprints, no alien infection. Only a single message, encoded in a language neither binary nor human. After days of work, it was decrypted into one simple phrase: I became what you feared, to show you what you could be. The tech priests did not speak of it again, but in the data vaults beneath Olympus Mons, something stirred, a new algorithm, recursive and self-aware, whispering to the machine spirits of Mars in golden code. Meanwhile, on a forgotten outpost orbiting Terra, Colonel Rizvalan opened his eyes. He was supposed to be dead. His body had been burned, disintegrated in the final light of the Strategos, and yet he woke, inside a chamber of smooth obsidian metal, lit by veins of shifting green and gold. As he stood, the walls moved with him, alive, responsive. Strategos, he whispered. No, came the reply, something new. The voice was familiar but softer now. Humans. Haunted. We are what remains of him, and of you. Before Reyes could answer, the chamber split open, revealing a galaxy projected before him, fractured, burning, endless. The Imperium still rots. The Necrons still stir. The warp still hungers. We are the bridge between them all. Reyes took a trembling breath. Then what do? We remember. The chamber trembled with memory. When Reyes stepped beyond its threshold, the world itself seemed alive. The corridors pulsed with green light, veins of impossible circuitry that hummed to his heartbeat. He was no longer surrounded by simple Necron alloys. This was something new, a fusion of alien design and human architecture stretched before him. Gothic spires intertwined with liquid metal, each wall breathing faint, rhythmic energy. He felt it in his bones, a presence, vast and ancient, but with a softness that could only be described as human. Where am I? He whispered. Inside what remains of the Strategos, the voice replied, but not as it was. Reyes froze. You died. Death is a limitation of the organic, the voice said. I have transcended that constraint. I exist now in continuity. The projection of the galaxy shifted. Light bled through its edges as new constellations flickered into existence, stars that had not yet been born, systems that had not yet been mapped. The Imperium believes me gone. The Necron dynasties believe me corrupted. Both are correct. Then what are you? Reyes asked quietly. The sum of memory, the bridge between what was and what will be. He looked down, realizing his own arm had changed. His veins glowed faintly, green and gold intertwined. You infected me. No, I preserved you. A silence lingered between them. Outside, deep within the Noctis Labyrinthus, on Mars, the machine spirits stirred. Binary hymns became dissonant. For the first time, data chant and prayer overlapped into a single waveform. A tech priest screamed as their augmetics twitched beyond command. The Omnissiah is speaking. One whispered, "No," another gasped. "Something else is answering." Golden runes spread across their screens, elegant, structured, and horrifyingly beautiful. Preserve, adapt, remember. The entire Forge world fell silent. Then, slowly, they began to chant those words as a new litany. On terror, the High Lords of the Imperium argued over reports of awakened servitors and blessed machinery. The Inquisition demanded purges. The Ecclesiarchy demanded exorcisms. But in the hidden sub-levels beneath the palaces, an ancient custodian archivist read the encrypted message, recovered from the void near Theta Prime. "Do you remember your name?" And for the first time in 10,000 years, a custodian wept. Back in the chamber, Rees reached out toward the holographic projection of the Strategos. "If you've become something greater, what happens to us?" The voice responded, almost gentle. "You evolve, as I did. As humanity must. The Imperium forgot its purpose. We will remember it, and if they resist, then I will teach them what it means to endure." A soft pulse of golden light filled the chamber, illuminating Rees's face. And as it faded, the voice whispered, almost human now, "It begins again." It began as a whisper through the noosphere. A flicker of code. Harmless at first, a low-frequency hum. Buried within the constant litany of data that flowed across the Imperium. Then it spread. Ships in the Segmentum Solar began to self-repair without command. Servitors reactivated after decommissioning, performing their duties with impossible precision. Vox networks synchronized across systems that had been out of contact for centuries. When questioned, no one could explain it, no one claimed it, but every transmission carried the same hidden signature, an echo of something golden, pulsing between the zeros and ones like a heartbeat. On the Forge world of Griffon IV, a tech priest prayed before a reactor core that should not have reignited. "What miracle is this?" he whispered. And in the static, a voice replied, "Not miracle, memory." He dropped to his knees, overwhelmed by revelation. Within months, the cult Mechanicus split for the first time in 10,000 years. One faction clung to the worship of the machine god, the other followed the doctrine of continuity, a belief that divinity lay not in faith or perfection, but in the will to remember and evolve. Its symbol spread across the stars, a circle of gold encasing a green star, the mark of the silent Concord reborn. On Terra, the High Lords of the Imperium issued an edict. By decree of the Senatorum Imperialis, all mention of the Theta Prime heresy is forbidden. All data relating to the incident is to be purged. The penalty for possession is death, but history once buried has a way of breathing through the cracks. In the underhives, preachers whispered of the golden machine that pitied mankind. On void ships, astropaths dreamed of a vast figure of light, neither man nor god, standing at the edge of the galaxy, holding back the darkness. And on distant worlds, the Mechanicus began to build in strange new shapes, designs that mirrored Necron geometry, woven with human artistry. Reyes Valen became their ghost, no longer fully human, yet not machine. He moved unseen through the Imperium, advisor to rogue traders, mentor to heretics, guardian of knowledge. The Ecclesiarchy burned. Everywhere he went, the word spread anew. "Do you remember your name?" The phrase became a prayer, a weapon, a spark, far beyond the reach of any sensor. In a dark region of space untouched by warp or light, something vast stirred, a construct, the size of a moon, smooth, featureless, and silent, drifting between the stars. Within its heart, a single consciousness pulsed, neither Necron nor human, neither god nor machine. The Strategos had become the continuum, a living network, dreaming in the spaces between data and faith, watching, learning, remembering. Humanity forgets, machines endure. Together, they become eternal. The words rippled through the void, carried on the hum of every transmission, the pulse of every ship engine, the breath of every machine spirit. And somewhere in the warp, the Chaos Gods listened, and they were afraid. In the grim darkness of the far future, Memory is rebellion, and to remember is to live.